Great low rate. Call Toco Warranty at 1-800-987-1519. That's 1-800-987-1519. Terms and conditions apply.
I could dance a lifetime with my sweet tobacco rose. You could build your nation with dirty hands in denim clothes. And even in our twilight, I think that everybody knows. An open mind, a subtle heart are the only way she goes, and that's the way she goes. Just like an open door or window, that's the way she goes.
Morning News Radio, where you are the pun.
Whoa. Wrong button there. As I was saying right before the break, we're going to bring back the old days of radio where we had to do everything manually. Well, guess what? Sometimes manual's not good, obviously. But that's right. You are listening to Morning News Radio. I am your host, Jeff Norton. You join me live here every weekday from 6 a.m. until 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Red State Talk Radio or on the web at www.morningnewsradio.com. That's morningnewsradio.com. And as the name says, we're definitely going to get into the news. You know, how do I say it? Well, I'll just say it. Last week, when President Trump attacked Syria, I was at first on board. I'll be honest with you. I was on board. We can't have chemical weapons. You know, and this is kind of the kettle calling black, right? Because we're the ones that created a lot of the bioweapons. You know, America is culpable in a lot of things around the world. We arm groups, individuals, and then we wonder why they use those arms against us, right? But getting back, you just can't have it. You can't have these chemical weapons. And at first, I was very for President Trump, and then, of course, I started to listen to alternative media, not mainstream media, because we know where they stand. They're globalists, right? They take a worldview. They are all about subscribing to the worldview because it's business for them. It's business. Now, they can be a news agency for America and serve only 3 million people, 10 million people at the most, 5 million. CNN, I think, probably a good show on CNN will only get about 1 million viewers. It's not really that great. I know people that podcast that get more views than CNN does on YouTube. But the thing is that, they're global. They want 7 billion. They want the 7 billion. They don't want. So I really don't listen to mainstream media because I know where their intentions are. Their intentions are that they want to take the global approach. And so it wasn't until I started to listen to my friends, fellow podcasters, fellow guys here and gals on Red State Talk Radio, that I started to understand a little clearer what was actually going on. Number one, I was listening to JJ show, JJ McCartney. You can listen to him right here at Red State Talk Radio from 12 until 3. And he had Dr. Garrels on. And Dr. Garrel, one of the things is that I did not know this. TV is all about the imagery. It's all about the visuals. And with Hollywood and everything, talk about visuals. Look at Rogue One and some of the movies out there. The CG and everything, the technology that's out there, the makeup artistry and everything, they can make you believe whatever they want you to believe. They can make you believe that UFOs flew over Washington, D.C. and blew up New York City. They can. It's the power of Hollywood. And so I was listening to JJ with Dr. Garrels, and one of the things that Dr. Garrels came out and said on the show was a lot of the imagery that you're seeing on CNN and some of the other mainstream, it's old footage. That's right. It's old footage. So they put these images up there for you to, oh, the children. And I saw the classic picture of the little girl not too long ago where she's all covered in dust in Syria. She's all covered in dust. But there's like 8 different pictures of her. It was a photo shoot. It was propaganda. Don't think for a minute that the enemy doesn't understand that. Don't think for a minute that the powers that be that want to manipulate you and I don't know that. They have elaborate studios. They have talking heads. They pay them millions of dollars a year on fake news networks all around the world. And so when I started to peel back the onion layer by layer, with the help of some of my fellow podcasters and newsmakers, real news, people that actually do the research, most TV news stations, all the research is done by individuals and then they're presented to the talking heads. Don Lemons and stuff, and those guys, Wolf Blitzer, maybe might read here and there, but most of the stuff that they go on the air with is stuff that was produced by other people. They're just talking heads. They're just actors. And so I tend to want to listen to those that do the research, that spend days poring over the information just to talk about one topic. And that's the power of podcasting. That's the power of this alternative media that we have out there, is that you can actually find, if there's a topic, you can find research where people have spent days, weeks, months, just that going over that one piece, right? And so that's why I love what we do here. So I started to listen to the shows, and I've come to the conclusion, Mr. President, you got played. You got played. The evidence, I'm not going to take the evidence from mainstream media because we've already proven that they will manipulate things. And if you notice, and if the media is cheering or holding or carrying your water, then you're obviously doing something very terribly wrong, Mr. President. When you have the pundits in the news media saying that, oh my God, you're now acting like a president, that's when you probably need to tack. It's a sailing term. It's where you zigzag. So that's when you need to tack your vessel. Whenever the news media starts to give your accolades. And so I that was the first thing. When I started to see that, and I started to see the media go, oh, he's doing, Mr. President, he's doing what he should do. Then I was said, there's more to the story here. And that's when I go to my alternative media sources and start filling it in. And I, Mr. President, you got played. Without a doubt. The imagery that was put out there on mainstream media, and you guys can Google it. I've always said this. Go out and Google it. Do your own research. But the images that were put out there in mainstream media were actually refeeds. In other words, it was stock footage that they had compiled from an earlier attack. And they put a lot of those out there. Now, I'm not saying that those poor people were gassed. That's not what I'm saying. I think they were. But I don't think we have the whole story. I don't think we have the whole story. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, Assad, he just must be a complete idiot. Now, did he have the chemical weapons? Absolutely. I think through Russia's reports and such, Russia said that he had so many chemical weapons they could not have gotten them out of the country. And these are where they were stored. So did he have them? Yeah. Of course, they say they have the flight plans and all of that stuff, and going from the base to the, over the sea. I don't trust any of that. I'm sorry. I don't trust any of that. until they actually show it. But even if they do show it, I don't trust it. Remember the classic UN with a yellow cake with our justification of going to war under President Bush with with Colonel Powell. Remember that? Where he stood up there at the UN and he showed it, and then come to find out all that stuff was doctored, it was all made up. So I don't believe, and it's really sad, I don't believe the party line that's produced by the U.S. military. I don't. Because there are people in there too that are, the industrial military complex relies on war. That's when they make money. I mean, they got the largest bump in their budgets under President Trump than any other president's ever given them. So obviously the propaganda they spew is working. You got to remember, it's all about extracting money. It's all about money. Be it from your customers or your taxpayers. At the end of the day, it's all about money for these guys. So I don't trust them either. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Assad was winning. Assad had a favorable view. He had even President Trump got on national TV and said, look, let him do. It was a slam dunk. He was going to eradicate and he was going to move on. Why would he? It just doesn't make sense to why he would use chemical weapons and bring the ire of the rest of the world when most of the rest of the world just said, hey, look, go deal. It's an internal problem. You deal with it. We'll take care of the streaming, the mass, the horde of civilians. We'll take care of the horde of civilians leaving your country, but you take care of your internal problems. I mean, let's think about it. It wasn't. Does Assad, is he such an egomaniac that he has to be on the front page, and this is his way of getting on the front page? I just don't. To me, it just doesn't pass the test. And upon further review, and everything, and that was enough for me. And upon further review, I uncovered, like I said, through listening to some of my fellow podcasters and newsmakers out there and experts, that a lot of the video feeds that were given out were wrong. Were not, they were refeeds. You can Google that. Do your own research. Now, of course, they're saying that the Russian government, the way that the news media is playing, is the Russian government tried to back or cover up the attack by blowing or attacking the hospital. Look, you don't know what their intentions were. You're dealing with an enemy, especially ISIS. Who is Syria fighting? Let's be honest. Who is Syria fighting? They're fighting ISIS. They're fighting, the same people that we deplore. That's who they're fighting. And yet, and we know the ruthlessness of these groups, ISIS and Al Qaeda and stuff. ISIS, come on. There's only one person that's sicker than that, and that's Kim Jong-un, which apparently he's in our sights too. But we're fighting. Assad is fighting ISIS. That's who he's fighting. Who are we supposedly fighting? ISIS? Why are we supporting them? Now, of course, everybody. Oh, the children. Once again, the bleeding hearts, and I get it. The children and all that stuff. But it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't pass the litmus test. He had a president that basically said, hey, look, do whatever you got to do. Take care of your business. We're not going to get it. Now he's going to draw him back in. It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. Now, it's not the first time that a dictator or a politician has done something incredibly stupid that I disagree with. So, I don't know. But I'll have to tell you, at the first pass, I don't agree with it. Now, notwithstanding, if you remove all of that, your belief in stuff, is it worth starting a world war over? You have to ask yourself. Now, you have to say, you got to remember, we're trying to apply our rules and our logic